Welcome on this hot Nairobi afternoon. Two major events happened this week, and everybody expects me to talk about them. But I looked at the Supreme Court judgment, beginning with a number of pages. I quickly read through. I looked at the conclusion, the recommendations, and I said there was nothing to talk about this judgment. I had said I will look at it critically, but after reading it briefly, and there was nothing to talk about. The next event that happened some hours later, was the naming of the cabinet, which had been long coming. Again, I looked at the names of the men and women presented by His Excellency President William Samoei Ruto. And again I said, the less said about that cabinet, the better. But my viewers, subscribers, followers, fans, friends have asked me to talk about cabinet. Reluctantly, therefore, I wish to say that this cabinet has many things about it. The first thing about this cabinet is that if it is vetted by a parliament anywhere else in the world except Kenya, more than 90% of those names will not be approved. But this is Kenya. Before we look at some of the things that are making people wonder, really, what is the problem with this country, why the president seems to be treating us with contempt, why the president is refusing to show some respect for the people he's leading, I must say that this country does not have shortage of men and women. Indeed, within that cabinet, the people I have talked to, two names keep coming up. Anytime we are talking with people and I'm discussing this thing with people, two names keep cropping up. Meaning, therefore, there are people in this country you can put in cabinet. The name that keeps topping the list is the name of Professor Kithure Kindiki. The next name, which occasionally comes top, is the name of Eliud Owalo. In other words, looking at these two gentlemen, you can then conclude it is possible to get people who can work. If you look at Kithure Kindiki, you can tick all the boxes. He's youthful. People are looking at where this country is. The energy required to drive this country, to push this country where it ought to be. You need youthful people. Kindiki is youthful. The issues that face this country, the challenges that face this country, you need somebody with the intellectual standing like Kindiki. This country, as demonstrated by the nominees of cabinet, is a country where the leadership is wash-wash. Every leader you come across is scandalous. They can't almost survive anywhere else in the world. I haven't heard of scandals involving Kindiki. Eliud Owalo is another name. Educated, serious consultant in his own right. Haven't heard of scandals, haven't heard anybody mention. Well educated. And talking of uniting the country, Owalo coming from where he comes from. Unfortunately, he's the only one from there. This is the kind of names we were expecting. People are complaining about the number of women. I don't go in that direction myself. I don't board that. I don't care whether a minister is a man or a woman. I know the Constitution talks about 2,000, whatever it is. I don't fall in that. I don't drive that path. I believe that Kenya is like a plane that is flying, that's being flown to America, across the Atlantic. What we want is the best pilot to take this plane up across the Atlantic and land it in America. Kenya is like a patient being wheeled into a theater. We want the best surgeon, whether that surgeon is a Luo, a Kikuyu, doesn't matter. Whether that surgeon is a woman or a man, doesn't matter. I don't subscribe to that. But the names that we see collected, even if they were to represent the women, the question that comes to mind, if you are looking for women, are those the best this country can give you? If you are looking for loyalty, because loyalty is important in politics. Even in America, the president, in nominating his cabinet, choosing his cabinet, takes loyalty into consideration. The working between Uhuru and Ruto has demonstrated to us that unless people below you are loyal to you, you can't move forward. So loyalty is important. The question, however, is one. One question. Among your loyal friends, must you give us the worst? We talk of the face of this country. And therefore you have to move across the country and give us people. Do you give us the worst that Coast Province can produce? Yes. We need people from Rift Valley. We need Kalenjin in cabinet. But must you give us the worst Kalenjin? Must you give leaders that represent the worst of this country? I very much doubt. The fact that there is Eliud Owalo, the fact that there is Kithure Kindiki is serious demonstration that there are indeed Kenyans from both sides, from different tribes, from different regions. Monica Juma is a capable lady. She's not in the cabinet. She's somewhere on peripheral. She hasn't quite demonstrated, but she's a capable lady. So if you are looking for women, look for serious women. Something else people are thinking about this cabinet. This cabinet represents everything that the president was against in 2013. In 2013, the president, then the deputy president, pushed the president, his president, Uhuru Kenyatta, publicly not to nominate to cabinet anybody who is a politician. I remember in William Samoei's own words, there will be only two politicians in government, cabinet, the president and myself. Today, 90% or more of the people he has nominated to cabinet are politicians. What is worse, it is failed politicians. The worst you can pick from the political landscape. People with cases in court, people with questionable backgrounds, including people who have been sent out of cabinet for scandals. At a time this country requires men and women to assist His Excellency the President to steer this ship in these stormy waters, in these troubled waters. I remember a song like that. You cannot, and I've said this before, I'm not even beginning to say it today. I've said this before, and repeatedly so. Before the election, I said Raila Amolo Odinga, William Samoei Ruto, whoever becomes president, listen to me. This country is at a difficult situation. In a difficult situation. It is at a difficult point to steer this ship, to move this country from where it is, to put food on the table for Kenyans, to ensure parents can send their children to school, to make sure people do not watch their loved ones die. I'm sure leaders in this country do not know. If they ever went to the countryside like me, like I do, you leave the countryside a depressed person. The level of suffering and pain you would see. People in this country, in the villages, watch their loved ones die in their houses because they cannot afford to take them to hospital. Having a meal to many Kenyans is a problem. And therefore you need men and women in cabinet who understand the situation, who have the intellectual wherewithal to know where we are. Look, I've said even recently, as Kenyans continue to suffer and wallow in pain and misery, public servants are moving all over the country from one seminar to the other. Some of them are members of the Sky team. Anatoka Kisumu and land in Nairobi from a seminar. 2 days he's in Mombasa. Come back to Nairobi after 3 days, they are going to India, Dubai. We want ministers who can land in a ministry and say the first thing we are doing here, we are cutting costs because Kenya is bleeding. I want a minister who will enter a ministry and say, jamani, hapa hakuna seminar. Hizo seminar yote ni fake. Hoteliers make money from government. In a country where people are going to bed hungry, where millions of young people are jobless, where people are dying from very treatable diseases, you have public servants, MCAs, governors, running across the country, guzzling. I said in another video recently, governors had a meeting in Mombasa. Vehicles are driving from wherever, Baringo, grrr, all the way to Mombasa. Governors are in the skies. In a country like Kenya, where over 85% of people in Nairobi don't have access to water. They live in slums, things that are worse than slums. I gave an example of civil servants who go to India for 3 weeks, they come back and work a foundation ya nyumba. Anaenda Naivasha for seminar a week, anarudi anakoroga hiyo. 3 weeks later, they go to Mombasa for another workshop. Anakuja wall, he's walling the house. Kidogo kidogo ameenda UK, anarudi ameweka roof ya nyumba. Hiyo inaisha, anaanza ingine. In a country where people are dying. So I need ministers who land in a ministry and look at the wastage and say, it has come to the end today. We need a minister who can land in a ministry like the late Michuki and make a difference in the matatu sector. And for this reason, even before we try them, I am seeing people like Indiki and Owalo and one or two others. I wish Moses Kuria didn't have a loose tongue because he has the capacity to run a ministry. He has the thinking, the innovation, the creativity in that head of Moses. It is the tongue. Maybe we should ask him to apologize and we let him run a ministry. But finally, this is my advice to President William Samoei Ruto. Business as usual. Business as usual. Let me say this finally, which is not good. I must end on this bad note because I'm annoyed. Anybody who becomes president in this country, like William has become today, William Samoei Ruto, if you look at things in terms of 5 years, you are a dreamer. 27, 32, 37, 42, you are a dreamer. We are entering a phase in this country where to survive at State House even for 2 years is going to be a problem because of the challenges of the the challenges of the modern times, because of the problems that are some of them beyond your control, of international nature, worsening economic times, or pandemics like corona, in a country that is hugely and badly divided. Nobody should ever dream they'll be president for 5 years, from 2032 to 2037. So you must run the government knowing it's not guaranteed you'll be there for 5 years. People of this country are soon going to get so mad at the things that I'm talking about that are going on. People are looking at that cabinet and wondering, is the president aware of where this country is? And of the wastage I'm talking about, and of the pain people are going through. I hope Parliament, for once, just for once, think of the people of this country and turn back to the president more than half of those nominees and let him give you men and women who can help him run this country.